Welcome back, everybody. I've got something very special for you guys today. This is a podcast with my man Nathan Gist. I've spoken with many of you guys many times about hypnotism and things that I do to increase performance for trading. And Nathan is the master of such things. So, this is my secret tool. This is my secret weapon. I've been keeping him hidden from you guys for quite some time, but I've had a lot of questions regarding this. So I figured we'd do a really cool podcast and just kind of talk about my experiences and what he's doing and the whole nine yards, kind of just get it out there. So, first, just to let you know, Nathan is the founder of Unshakable Trading. He actually does this for people like me and you. So it's pretty cool. And I have said many times to a lot of people where they'll say, oh man, that seems expensive. Is it worth it? Yeah, he doesn't charge enough. I'll just be frank with you. So I'm going to let him kind of kick it off and go from that number. And just to let you guys know too, he doesn't specifically do trading. He does movie stars, people that smoke, athletes, etc. So, we're going to cover a broad range here, but we'll keep our focus on trading for the most part. So please, Nathan, introduce yourself and kick it off for us.
Yeah, well, I appreciate that. And I do. Like, I use hypnosis because it's one of the tools in the box, right? Like, that's important to remember. I do coaching. I do, a whole combination of different types of modalities and stuff that's kind of mixed into this stuff. But what I found out when it comes to hypnosis, and the reason that I focus on that so much is because it's so effective so fast,
Agreed.
right? And because I kind of tell people I feel more like an unhypnotist,
Okay.
right? Research shows between 90 and 95% of our behavior, we're on autopilot. The things we say, the things we do, the things we talk about. And so some of those things are really effective, but some of them aren't. And what happens is if I've been doing something for so long, it feels like it's kind of rooted in there, right? Like people tell me all the time, there's a part of me that wants this and a part of me that wants that. There's, oh, this is just who I am. This is just what I do. And every time we tell ourselves that, that's the truth. And what happens with the hypnosis is that I kind of, like I said, kind of that unhypnosis where it's this waking up. And the reason it's so effective is because consciously I can know this stuff, but
Right.
subconscious, like that's the emotion and the behavior part of it.
Well, just the last meeting that you and I had, you were like, so tell me what's going on. I tell you, and you go, okay, like listen to the way you're talking. And I'm like, what's wrong with the way I'm talking? It's like the way that you're saying certain things. Like if you've been saying this to me, you've said it 50,000 times. You said it to your wife. You said it in your head. You said this and that. That is the wrong thinking. And I don't even remember what it was now, but
Yeah,
it was negative connotation essentially that a lot of us traders will do constantly. We're like, oh, that's stupid,
right.
or oh, what a stupid mistake. You're a knucklehead, right? These are all things that you are unhypnotizing us from unconsciously doing day in and
Yeah,
day out. Yeah.
well said. And the reason for that too, and I get really nitpicky when it comes to language. And the reason for that is like our brain, like every thought sets off a chemical electrical response in the body. You want to wiggle your toes and fingers, the brain sends a chemical cocktail and the electrical impulse to make that happen. And so when we're thinking things, our body's reacting to it. And sometimes we forget where we think things are observations, but to our nervous system, they become commands,
Right.
right? And I think we kind of talked about it before. It's like if I see a dog and I'm afraid of a dog, and I tell everybody around me I'm afraid of dogs, and I tell myself over and over I'm afraid of dogs, when I see it, my body's going to be like, I'm afraid of dogs, right?
Yeah.
Like it's
Yeah.
that,
Yeah.
right? Like that's the way that it works. We steer where we
Yeah.
stare, positive, negative, doesn't matter. And so, but if that's my story over and over and over, but here's the thing, if I shift it a little bit, and what I mean by that is maybe when I see a dog, I react a specific way or I feel a certain way about it. But if I can start to say something different there and I can say, I'm learning to like dogs, or I'm getting better at this, or whatever the case is, same thing. We're taking it now, and my nervous system starts to see it. Maybe I'm uncomfortable around dogs, but I'm getting better about it. So that's speaking a new truth into myself. I'm not delusional saying, well, I've never been afraid of dogs,
Right.
but I'm looking at it differently. That's why when people talk about affirmations and stuff, how we can kind of mix that up a little bit. Because affirmations aren't, we don't want to lie to ourselves.
Right.
Like, I don't care how much I affirm myself. I believe I'm going to be a 7 foot tall basketball player. I,
Right.
I'm not growing, right? Like, it's just not going to happen.
Right.
But if I'm having conversations with myself about this is how I can get better at this, or maybe my jump shot wasn't as good as I thought in the past, well, now I'm going to be working on this. I'm training on this. And so it starts in the mind and the body will follow. And if we bring that back to trading, if I say to myself, oh, this happens all the time, I do this. Oh, I always screw this up. Oh, what an idiot I am. Like, right? Like, so we're
Yeah.
telling ourselves these things over and over and over. Every time I give it money, every time I make money, I give it back by the end of the week. Your
Happens to a
nervous system
lot of
goes,
people.
yep,
That's actually a huge problem with a lot of people, myself
yeah,
previously included back in the day. I'd work a month, a week, 2 weeks, and in 1 or 2 days, gone, frittling
yep.
away. Yeah.
And that's exactly it. And the more that we tell ourselves that over and over and over again, and we start telling other people about it, and we start telling, like, right, all that stuff, it becomes our truth.
Right.
And again, we think that it's an observation, but it becomes a command.
It's true. So I'm just going to interrupt you.
Yeah, man.
Our most previous hypno session that you and I had, or just last week, this week, I don't even remember. It was
You're right.
recent.
You're right.
And I was telling you, I was like, listen, I for whatever reason, I'm extremely risk adverse. I think I need a little tune up. And you're like, well, tell me what you're doing. And I'm like, well, I'll get in a trade. I have a 10-point stop, 20-point target. The trade goes a little bit against me. I'll stop out for, $300 because I figure, okay, I'm gonna stop out early and save myself 200. Then the trade would never have hit my stop. I go get back in it, right? I get back in at a worse price in which that I originally wanted.
Yep.
And then the trade will end up usually stopping me out anyway. But I'll do this 2 or 3 times. And instead of taking my original $700 or $500 loss, by the time we're all done, I'm probably 750, $800 into this trade. That if I would have just left the shit alone, I
Yep.
would have actually I would have been in a much better situation.
Yep.
And what was interesting is the comment that you made to me, which is something my wife says all the time. But she says, "Well, then quit doing that. Well, quit it." And I'm like, it sounds so easy to
Yep.
say that, right? But for
Yep.
whatever reason, your brain tells you, no, this is a smart idea. And because you said something to me that I thought was great. You said, listen, when you get into a trade, you lose 50% of your brain cells immediately. And that couldn't be more true, right?
Yep.
Because you immediately have a bias, you have a lot of things that make you're not indifferent anymore, right?
Right.
And so, yeah, please, like, I kind of just wanted to parlay into your thought there.
And you nailed it, right? Like, because that's it. And I'm glad that early on, when was taught that early on, when I first started my mentor back in 2013, 2014, something like that, where, or 12. So that was the conversation where, and I was thankful for him because, like, he was one of those secret ninja squirrels. And so, like, I'm just outside of DC, so I get to work with a lot of these people. And
Okay.
so he learned a lot of the psychology of how they do trainings and different things along those lines, right? And so he utilized that because he told me early on, you can learn the fundamentals, you can learn the technicals. It's the psychology that
Absolutely.
throws people off. And so time and time again, we would practice in specific ways where there were questions and things that would kind of hit me. Where is this right? Is this right? It was constantly trying to interject these feelings and thoughts, the emotions, because the process is what's going to make you money.
Dude, you know for a fact, and I mean, you have more traders than just me,
Mhm.
and you have other traders who trade completely different styles. They've done the math on their setup or on their process. The numbers work in their favor.
Yep.
We know there's 100 ways to skin a cat in this
Yep.
game, but it always comes back to the trader and him being emotionally screwed up, right? In
That's
some
it.
way, shape, or form. I mean, I hate to say it like that, but it's the honest to God truth.
Yeah.
It's always up here,
Dude.
right?
And I've seen it, right? Like, I've seen people who are mashing buttons on Robinhood, and I've worked with the $1 million traders that, like, you're talking about hundreds of thousands, sometimes millions of dollars on a trade. And
Right,
so this is not something we take lightly. And it's
right.
not, oh, it's just me, it's just me. What happens is that's the thought. Something's wrong with me. Your
Yeah,
brain
for
is
sure.
trying to save you from pain. And
Right.
it doesn't understand until we teach it and retrain it that that tweak, that movement, that hesitation, that prolonged, that causes the problem. Because your brain's not trying to hurt you. It's
It's trying to save you.
it's trying to save you,
Right.
but
Because
it's trying to play
we're in
by
a
the same
risk
rules.
environment. Yeah,
You're
it's a risk
exactly right.
environment. Yeah.
You're exactly right. It's trying to play by the same rules that worked in the regular world
Right.
versus trading.
Correct.
Trading is a completely different animal. And
Right.
this is why, like you talked about, and again, nothing against any other hypnotists and that kind of thing, but if you don't understand this world and how this stuff works, it's completely different. It doesn't care how smart you are, the market. It doesn't care how many books you've read, how many courses you've gone over. It doesn't care
Sure.
how long you've been doing it. See, that's the part that gets most people. My guys that come in, my guys and girls that come in, and we're having this conversation about hypnosis and coaching and trading and psychology, like most of these aren't newbies. These are
Right.
10, 15, 20 years in who are incredibly successful people making stupid money. But all of a sudden, that subconscious gets in there, and all of a
Yeah.
sudden they're trying to optimize more than they should. Well,
Well,
why isn't this
the brain
100%?
always
Because it's
seems
never
to
going to
get
be
in the way.
100%. I'm
Yeah,
sorry, go ahead.
the brain always gets in the way in this business. I really feel like that's the honest to God's truth. Like everything was good until I second guessed it or whatever, right?
That's it.
Yeah.
And and what happens there again is that we're trying to optimize it. We're trying to make things better. We're trying to save ourselves from pain because loss hurts. I mean,
Right.
anybody's like, "Oh, I love to lose money." There, yeah, no. Right? It's just not because here's the other side of it too. When I'm working with traders, and I think you kind of mentioned about it too. Like I'm not sitting here telling you when to get in, when to get out, what type of trade to do, any of that kind of stuff. What a lot of times happens for people is that a loss means something different.
Correct.
So, $1 million trader I'm working with, I mean, like I said, he was brilliant when it comes to software that he wrote. He sold his company when he was young, like making crazy, stupid money. Gets into trading, and his whole life was about optimization, optimization, optimization. How do I make this better, better, better? He's got this great system that he created, but unfortunately, because he wants to optimize, he just kept trying to tweak this thing so that he could try to get to 100%. I don't care who you are, you're not going to make 100% in this game.
Yeah, for
It's
sure.
not how it works.
Yeah.
And if we couldn't, and for him, we had to kind of retrain that nervous system that when a loss comes in, it doesn't mean that he's stupid. It doesn't mean that he can't do this. It doesn't mean
Right.
any of this stuff. It just means it's part of doing
It
business.
is what it is. Yeah.
It is what it is, which sounds so flippant. That's the thing, right? Well, it is what it is. Okay, you lose $500.
Yeah.
You lose $1,000. You lose $10,000. It's your nervous system's going to react to it,
Right.
but it needs to be retaught. And again, that's why I love hypnosis so much because we're retraining the nervous system and the brain to learn how to basically mitigate risk differently.
And you don't just talk the talk. I mean, just so people know, I mean, one of the reasons why I chose you as, when I first met you, I was talking to three different hypnotherapists, trying to
Mm.
figure out who was going to be the right fit. One of the things that appealed to me was that you are a futures trader, that
Yeah,
you like to trade YM. And that immediately, because I'm an ES trader, I'm like, okay, cool, that's what's up. Like we
yeah,
have something in common, right? And we never talk strategy. First off, we never talk about is the market going up and down. We don't give a shit. We don't.
yep,
You don't even know how I trade. I don't know how
right,
you, but we do know that we both experience similar pains at similar different times, but same feeling. And
yep.
so it was important for me to have somebody who could relate because you just got some guy that sits in a chair and says, I deal with traders, but I've never put a trade on. They have no idea what we're talking about.
It's
So
a completely different game,
yeah,
right? To know that thrill of like I remember early on, probably God, maybe my first year or two, and I put on a trade, and peanuts nowadays, but like I made like $700 or I don't know, something like that, right?
yeah,
Just under $800, and like it happened within I don't know, a minute and a half or something like that, that I was in the trade. And it was like, because an announcement showed up and, oh my God, like this
all
is the
right,
greatest moment of life. How can this happen? Like, this whole thing. So that feeling that's there, and then you go into the next trade that may or may not work. And we don't understand that one trade doesn't necessarily lead to another. Every single trade is different. And so there's that pendulum, there's that swing that happens. It's
yeah.
also been times when I've lost money like that, and I'm like, what? So, and it doesn't mean that you have to know everything. You know what I mean? Like I work with people who are overcoming certain addictions, or certain people who are overcoming certain fears. And though I don't have those specific things, what does make this different is that to know what it's like to pull the trigger on something,
Right.
to know what it's like to hunt, and to know that it is a different psychology than the rest of the world. I mean and I know I go on tangents, but man,
No,
it's the
it's
geekiest,
cool.
coolest thing ever.
No, it is cool. And one of the things that I want to point out, actually, let me turn my light on.
Sure.
You look all warm and I'm not warm. All right. All right. So one of the things I wanted to point out, and it's just because, guys, people are very curious when I tell them that I do, hypnotherapy for trading. I mean, it's hypnotherapy, in my opinion, is a little taboo. And the
Hmm.
reason it's taboo is because I feel like mainstream media has made it that, right? They have people answering their shoe and clucking like chickens and all this stuff. And I'm not saying that's not possible, but because I've been to shows, I guess you could say, where I've seen this happen. But, for when you and I do sessions, and I know that I've referred some other people to you, I know it's the same, like you're conscious, you know exactly what's going on.
Right.
And, there's no mystery here. One of the guys was joking around with me. He's like, "So after you have a big day, do you just automatically siphon your profits and then is it done?" And I'm like, I'm sure he would like that, but no, that's not. Like we've like, our first session, you and I, we spent. It was a nice long session. We spent the first hour plus getting to know each other, right?
Yeah.
Because there's a certain bond there, I guess, that comes with that trust. But at the end of the day, there's no mystery to this, right? Like I always find about how powerful it is amazing. Like it's always like you're always like, okay, now open your eyes. How do you feel? I'm like, dude, epic.
Yeah.
Like how does this happen, right? But
Yeah.
I'm not asleep, right? And there's nothing that you say to me that is like, you're like subliminally programming or anything like that. So I just wanted people to understand that because I don't, if I had to guess, 99% of the people who are going to watch this podcast have never had hypnotism. I'm just
Yeah.
going to throw it out there. So I kind of wanted to touch on that detail too. I know this is probably not the opportune time for it, but it was something that was just kind of, I was just thinking about.
No, and it's right on because most people, those are the questions they're asking me. Right? Like, are you going to make me cluck like a chicken or bark like a dog or whatever? And I'm like, yeah, I charge extra for that, but sure.
Yeah, right, right.
Right?
Yeah,
And I've done the shows, right? Like I've had people on stage doing all kinds of crazy
of
stuff and that kind of
course.
thing,
Yeah,
but it is very different than the clinical hypnosis.
right.
And you're right, your mind active and alert the entire time.
For sure.
Like people are going to hear what I say, they're going to remember as much as they would from any normal conversation.
Yep.
So what does hypnosis feel like? Well, some people feel heavy, some people feel light, some people feel like they're just sitting in a chair.
Yeah,
We go in and out of trance constantly and we don't even realize it.
absolutely.
If you're driving down the road and you get home and you're like, I don't even remember driving, congratulations, you were in trance.
Right,
But
right.
what happens is that when we see stuff on TV and comic books and movies and it has to look like this, no. Like to go get into trance super quick, it's really just shifting somebody's attention.
Right.
Fun example, if I told you to, well, let's think about your right foot and the way that your right foot feels in your shoe, the way that your shoe feels, right? So now all of a sudden my attention has gone from here to there. And we have to understand consciously we can handle about 5 to 7 plus or minus 2, right? Things consciously. I'm aware I'm sitting in my chair. I'm aware that I'm talking to you, those kind of things. Unconscious, our subconscious is picking up everything,
Okay.
just tons and tons of data. But our attention, because it has to be, it's a bit limited, it just
Interesting.
focuses on one specific area. And so when I'm working with somebody in hypnosis, going into hypnosis, sometimes it's this deep feeling of relaxation. I'm sinking into the chair. Sometimes it's a light thing. Sometimes it does feel like we're just having a conversation.
Yeah.
But what's happened is we've taken all this external noise and just went. And some people that have done meditation and stuff physically can feel very similar. The difference is the strategies that I utilize are very specific on how to walk somebody through this so that mentally we can make those shifts in a way that all of a sudden our nervous system goes, yeah, I can follow my process.
Right.
Yeah, I can pull the trigger on that.
For sure.
If this goes sideways, I can do this. And now that it's been wired in so many times, we just do it.
Yeah. I mean, I've noticed a huge, and people in the trading room when we very first started to meet, I mean, it was a significant and substantial shift to the point where everybody was saluting me for my patience and my process. And it was something that no one has ever truly done before. And all of a sudden, everyone was like, wow, what happened? Right. And it was kind of a aha moment for me because I was, you know, we as individuals, we see ourselves every day. We don't always notice the progress or the progression that, it sometimes it takes outside influence to kind of tell us. And it was so many, it was everyone. Everyone's like, wow, like incredible. And, you know, I remember our first session, and just to let everybody know, he's in DC and I'm in Indiana. And we do this via Zoom. I put my little headset on, I lean back in my chair, we kick it, we talk a little bit, and then we have a nice little session. And we talk first so that he can figure out exactly what my pain points are. And then he tries to dial these in so that they are subconsciously reprogrammed in a sense so that for instance, stop talking a certain way, stop using negative connotations, stop moving my fucking stop, things like that, things like that, right? And so, yeah, I don't know where I was going with that, but that's kind of the process. And so, I wanted people to understand, really what is happening.
Yeah.
I think people often they're like, oh, do you have to go to the office? Do you have to lay in a chair? Does he use a clock? I just think there's just all these weird connotations behind hypno that you needed to know and that people need to know. And it's just, it's not the way I think that mainstream media has portrayed it. And the effects are more powerful than you can ever truly imagine. And, I'll put this out there. I smoked weed every day for 25 years, every day, all day, couldn't stop, just nothing but a freight train, right? And just all day blowing. And I remember coming to you, I said, listen, we're already like 5 sessions in, you and I. And I'm like, dude, I need to stop smoking for my health, but more importantly, for performance, right? For me, as you know, it's always about performance for me. I'm always trying to get 1% better. And I remember you telling me, you're like, do you really want to quit? Because you really have to want to. I mean,
Yep.
help me, but I mean, if you don't want it, then there's no amount of like, whatever is going to help, and are you ready to stop? And because I was ready, I literally could not do it on my own. I remember we had the session and I was done.
Yep.
It was just the most incredible thing. And I don't even remember what was said at this point. It doesn't even matter, but I don't know. I just wanted to salute you because I didn't think I'd ever be able to stop smoking. Like nor did I know if I actually wanted to,
Right.
but once I got to the point where money became more important than smoking weed, basically. I'm looking at this like $1,000 a day extra or 4 or 5 joints. I think I'll take the 1,000. You know what I mean?
Yep.
So, anyways, I just wanted to throw that out there.
No,
So,
and I appreciate that, man, because that's the retraining of the nervous system. Like,
right.
here's something you said every day for 25 years. That's a long time for doing something.
Yeah.
And so, what we have to do is really, again, subconscious. The reason I love this stuff is because of the speed of it.
Yes. It was
If,
immediate.
right? Because
Yeah.
once you tap into whatever that thing is inside, that honestly, there was a part of you that there was a benefit for the weed. There was a reason for it. And when all of
Absolutely.
a sudden that part goes, I don't have to do that anymore,
Right.
then it just stops. And then as we start to build in things that it can do instead, if you feel this way, think this way, or in this situation, now your nervous system goes, cool, I can do that. Because here's this big scary thing of, like, I get this all the time when somebody comes to me for quitting smoking, right? They're coming in, they've been doing it forever, they feel like it's their best friend, like all this kind of stuff. There's all these,
That is so true. What you just said, that is true. I was
yeah.
scared to stop. I was like, what am I going to do?
And
Yeah.
and that's what it is.
Yeah.
The unknown is terrifying to our mind, even if it's positive.
Right.
Like, I had a lady come in one time and she was getting ready to go on a cruise and she was having panic attacks.
Okay.
A cruise. And so what happened? Because she kept playing this unknown game. What if, what if, what if, what if, but everything was negative. And when we flip the script mentally, emotionally, subconsciously to what if positive, What if I'm going to win? What if everything works out? Now all of a sudden it was like, and her, again, this is nervous system that kicks in and goes, oh, I can do that. And the moment that happens, that's when things change. And so whether it's quitting smoking, whether it's becoming a better athlete, whether it's working with folks that I work with in Hollywood, like all of this stuff, it's because we got to understand, again, what happens in the mind shows up in the body and vice
Right.
versa.
Right.
And if bells and whistles are popping off inside of me because I'm going, oh my God, how am I going to pay for the kids' tuition? How am I going to eat this week? How am I going to? So that loss means so much more than just the cost of doing business.
Right.
And the moment we can start to train the system to go, okay, I don't like losses, but I'm okay.
Yeah.
Now I can hit the trigger on something else because I know my system works. Statistically, there's my advantage.
Yeah.
Again, that's why I love working with this because again, I've worked with people in options, I've worked with people in swing trade, like you name the market, the time frame, all of it, scalpers and long term and bonds and like you name it. What does it come back to?
I was going to say it's all in the head. So I wrote a book that an ebook that essentially I'll share it with you. I don't think I ever sent it to you. That basically one of the chapters in there was the 80/20, and the 20% is the process, the 80% is the mental side.
That's
And
it.
I truly believe that. I
That's
mean,
it.
I have an amazing process that, if people follow the rules, you make money, period,
Yeah.
including myself.
Yeah.
But it's not always as easy as that, right? And you would think like my wife all the time, she's like, then just do it. Why? She's like, what? Just do it. And I'm like,
Yeah.
I'm fucking trying. Right? You know what I mean? Like,
Yeah.
so, it's crazy.
And I remember years ago, so there's different traders and stuff that I would follow back in the day, right? You go back 10
Yeah.
years. And so one of the guys, I loved him. He's a good old boy, right? Like
Okay.
I just love listening, just like hearing his voice. Like he's just one of those guys. And he was talking about how there are people who will pay tens of thousands of dollars to come to his office and literally sit beside him and watch how he trades.
Okay.
And he will open everything like a book. Here's how
Yeah.
I do this. This is what you do here. This is how this works. All these kind of things, right?
They still can't get it, can they?
And he said usually it's like 20 to 30% because sometimes he does these big groups and stuff
Yeah. Yeah.
because everybody's tweaking stuff.
Yeah.
And it's
Right. They,
because they
they want
don't
to change it
follow
to
it.
their, like, I like this, but let me throw something in
Well,
there.
I feel like I should wait a couple moments. Nope. I feel like I should. Nope. I think I should. Nope.
Well,
Follow the process,
it's
get the
super
outcome.
that's super interesting. And I'm gonna throw some guys in my room under the bus. I won't say any names, but there's a lot of guys. I've sold quite a few courses over the past couple of years. It's the exact same process I trade to the letter, right? And it's interesting how many guys in my own trading room have taken the core principles and kept those, but added all these little high flyers, right? Now, I've been working on this for a decade,
Yeah.
right? And so I have already weeded out all the shit that doesn't work. And I figured out based on statistics exactly what works, right? And so I've kept what works, the rest is noise, right?
Yep.
And so, it doesn't matter how you make the money, your job is to make money, right? So it's like, so I mean, it doesn't matter. So again, exactly what you're saying. This guy gives people all this stuff and they want to add stuff, tweak it, change it, and all that. It's wild. I can relate to that 1,000%.
And I
So,
bet because that's what most people do because they start looking and going, well, Ryan, if you're so good, if this is so great, why are you telling everybody?
so
Oh,
I've
you're
heard
just
of this
making
so
money
much.
off of people who are doing this, right? Like I hear that stuff too because some of the trainers that I train as well,
Yeah.
it's the same thing. People always say that. Well, why are you doing this? Because nobody's going to do it.
Yeah. Yeah.
Like,
It's
unless
true.
you get that person that has that buy-in to that trust level.
Right.
Even you and I, when we first started, you're telling me how great the system is. You're telling me all this stuff. One of the first things I had you do for homework was go back test it.
Yeah.
Because what happens then, that builds the trust.
Right.
If I can't trust it, see, that's what happens. I want to buy somebody's program and I go and buy the program. I think it's just because I can push the button, do what they say. But if I don't have the trust in it, if I don't have the belief that this thing works, then I'm going to want to tweak and optimize. And that's why I don't get the same results. And I've seen some of the folks that work with you. Why do they get the results? Because they do what they're supposed to do.
Yeah, yeah, true. Yep,
I
absolutely
know I'm
true.
going on a tangent, brother. I
No,
just,
no, it's just interesting you said that because it's not, when I first came to you, I told you like I got all these problems, and you're like, dude, like after I spilled my guts to you, basically, I'm like pouring my heart out, and you're like, hey, listen, the past 12 people told me the exact same thing, right? You're like, it's not just you. Like,
yep,
these are the things that just happen in this industry and happen as human beings. I mean,
right.
we all, one of the things that I thought was super interesting, and this is just as recent as our last session. I came back to you. I always call them, mental oil changes or whatever. I come back and we once a month, once every 2 months or whatever, and just have you, hit the dipstick real quick and
That's right.
top me off.
Yep,
But even you always said, you're like, listen, this isn't a you problem, man. This is like this happens to a lot of people, and it's just interesting to me because we always think, or at least I do, and I know I hear a lot of traders in there, they think it's just them.
yep.
They do. They think it's like there's something wrong with me. I think you said it earlier. I can't figure out why I can't stop doing this. But dude, it's probably the guy next to you is doing the same shit. He just doesn't want to tell you.
You're exactly right.
Yeah,
Especially
right.
with dudes, especially
Yeah,
with guys, man, we suffer in silence. We push that stuff down.
yeah,
And what happens is like when I work with guys, so much of that stuff is beginning to realize like this is emotional stuff. And it doesn't mean we got to sit there and hold hands and sing together,
right,
right?
right,
But to realize that you are a human being and you have feelings and emotions, and your body's going to react a specific way. We know fight, flight, freeze,
right.
and it's going to show up in the system. Because if your nervous system is looking at the trade thinking life and death is occurring from this, then you're going to trade it completely different than this is just what I do.
Well, I'm just gonna give you huge props, like as if I haven't done it 100 times already. But I know for a fact that I would not be where I am today if it wasn't for you. And I'm not, trying to pump your head up or anything, but it's absolutely true. And I think it's important for a lot of people who are watching this stream to know that, there is certain mental challenges that sometimes we just can't fix on our own. And it's not because there's something wrong with you. You just need a little help. Sometimes you need help. Sometimes you have to ask for help. And I suffered for a long time with small issues that compounded into big problems.
Yeah.
And they didn't seem like they were that big of an issue just talking about them, but they showed in the overall performance when the statistics were run, and that's what mattered. And so I just wanted to let you know, Nate, and other people know that I know for a fact that I wouldn't be where I'm at if it wasn't for him or someone like him, because we sometimes we just need a little help. And so, I thought it was really important because to share you with my followers and the people in my room. And I, like I said in the very beginning of this, when I tell people what you cost, which is not crazy, at the end of the day, it was too cheap, right? I remember when I first did my first 4 sessions, I said honestly, it could have been double that and I would have been happy, right? And so I just thought it was really important to kind of tell people that. And I know that you didn't expect me to plug you, but I'm going to. And you have a program that is set up right now, and I've been kind of a test dummy for you as you've started to launch the trader side of the business, which is fantastic. I know you've built a website out, and in that website, there's a course that you take that has some nice instructional videos.
Mhm.
I know that you've sent me a number of audio tracks to listen to because I like to meditate, and these are nice for me to, if I experience a loss that for whatever reason is bothering me, the next morning I'll listen to this 15, 20-minute recording of you essentially walking a guided tour through how to overcome the loss, right?
Yep.
And it's a beautiful, beautiful program that you've set up. And hopefully, now that I've kind of given you the segue here, would you mind telling people a little bit more about exactly how this program works, and please
Yeah,
just
I
spill it out.
appreciate that. So Unshakable Trading, it has kind of some teachings like we just, where here's a video series that has what happens when you have loss. How do you follow your rules? How do you stay in place? How do you deal with things emotionally, right? Like I said, lots of this is dealing with the subconscious and dealing with the nervous system. So walk you through some video programs on that, how to get your edge. The other thing is the audio tracks. So these are hypnosis sessions that are specifically designed to work with loss, hesitation, over trading, under trading, moving
Process.
stops, following your process. Like, so they're specific enough that they have the language that we use as traders to get the kind of results that we're looking for. The other side of it too is if people want to take it to the next level, then it's the coaching aspect of this. And the reason that, and I think you kind of talked about it beautifully, how, so why this? And if I've done it for so long, sometimes the tune ups and that kind of thing, because like, let's use the analogy of Tiger Woods. Why does Tiger Woods have a coach? Because he can't see his swing.
Right.
And so as we're going through this, the idea of, okay, I've reached the pinnacle, I know exactly what I do and how to do it all the time. Okay, but life happens. And if we're approaching something emotional, well, how do we tone that down some? If I need to turn it up more, how do I do that? And the advantage of having somebody there with you is exactly that. It's the coaching process. I told you, I'm not going to tell you how to trade. You
Yeah.
have a system,
Right.
not my job. It's
For
how
sure.
do you effectively do the system to get the results that you're looking for? And so that's really what Unshakable Trading does. I have another program that I put in there recently too, and it's called Wealth. It's a wealth system. And
Oh,
so what
nice.
happens sometimes is that we get stuck mentally as well. And what I mean by that is, what does wealth mean to me? Like I've worked with clients before where we talk about how they'll knock it out the whole week and then they give it away, or
Yeah.
they'll do the whole month and then they'll give it away.
Yeah.
And so sometimes there's almost like an inner thermostat that's inside of us that says, I'm allowed to make this much money, or I'm allowed to have this much value.
That's for real. That's for real. I was there. I was there when you and I first met. I remember I kept telling you I didn't feel like I deserved, for whatever reason, to be here.
Yeah,
And you kept saying why? And I'm like, I had all these issues in my past, and you're like, listen, let's start here before we
yeah,
even go to trading. And you're right. I mean, I don't think people realize how truthful that is. Like there's some really deep-seated shit in our minds that we don't even realize that is holding us back from performance, that it doesn't even make any sense.
yeah,
How can something that happened in my 20s, cap my thought at 43 for saying you're only allowed to make 200,000 a year. That's
yep,
it. Anything above that, you're going to give it back because that's just what it is. You don't deserve it.
yep.
And it's true though. It's weird. It's so weird. It's so weird. Anyway,
Yep. And
sorry.
we do. We get stuck in those moments and our body responds to it. If there's a belief that I'm only worth this much or I can only make this much, then that's literally the ceiling that like we talked about it, right? Like if I say these things are true, my nervous system says it's true and it will find some way to make that thing happen.
It's kind of gross, actually,
It's
that
whacked
it
out, man.
is that we allow ourselves to. We're basically. It's almost like inner torment. You know what I mean? It's like you kind of torture yourself low key without knowing it.
And that's the thing. It's the unknown. It's like when people say self-sabotage. Self-sabotage doesn't go into the trade going, okay, I'm going to screw this one up because I
Yeah,
need to
I'm
screw
gonna
it up.
lose. Let me lose.
No, man. What self-sabotage is, well, maybe this or maybe that. And it's just
Yeah,
this. So again, why hypnosis? Because to get to that stuff quick matters. And people
it's
don't
true.
lose control. They don't tell me secrets. Like I work with a lot of government folks. Like I told you about the secret ninja squirrels, I call them.
Yeah, yeah,
Like these
yeah.
are guys who they cannot tell me what they're going through,
Right.
classified stuff. But I can run them through the processes mentally so that they can do it internally to get the kind of results that they're looking for.
It's true. Well, one of the very first things that you said when we first got on here, maybe it was the previous recording, I don't know, but one of the things that was interesting is you've made the mention about how in most jobs, the longer you work, the harder you study, the more money you make.
Right.
And this is not that way at all, right? You could come in here and make 5 grand in an hour or 10 minutes, or you could sit here all day and not get a trade. And so this is one of the few jobs, let's just call it a business or jobs, that hard work does not equal reward.
Yep.
And it's also the other way around. You could sit there all day and just get your head beat in. So, it's yeah, it's one of I don't know where I'm going with that, but I feel like there's a special caveat to this type of field that you have to be mentally on your game all the time.
You
You
do.
just you don't have the privilege to not be on point, if that makes sense.
It does.
So,
And you're exactly right. And that's why, because the stakes are so high, because every single trade we have to be at that level.
right.
That's why if we slip into old patterns, old beliefs, if we're not reassuring ourselves, if we're not building forward, that's why that stuff starts to happen. I tell people it's because you are normal. I need you to be abnormal.
Yeah.
Right?
I remember you said that to me last time. Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah. No, it's oh, I know why I said it that because that very much related to me when you said that. Like I have spent countless hours sitting at the computer studying, looking at technical analysis, et cetera. And of course it's the backbone, right? But at the end of the day, it was really just about, you know, having my mind correct. And because over trading really, I mean, I don't even want to say over trading. Like just you could sit here forever and never get anything accomplished. And I'm just going to throw this out there. I'll probably edit some of the other stuff out, but when I came to you and I said I needed a mental oil change, and I'll just tell everybody, people in the room know it. I wasn't necessarily doing poorly in my performance, but I wasn't killing it either.
yeah,
I just kept treading water. It was like, it was kind of a balancing act. I had some things just a couple months ago that for whatever reason was playing with my psyche, right? We've talked about those. And I came to you and I said, "Hey, listen, I can't seem to get back in the saddle. I need you to get me in the saddle." And you know, we had one session. The next day I made 1,500 bucks, and the day after that I made 7 grand. Right. And somebody asked me to and the day I told them that I just was like, all right, guys, I'm back. Sorry, I had to go to a hypno session. They're like, was it worth it? And I'm like, it's worth every penny. Right. Like, because for me, and this may or may not apply to a lot of people, but certain individuals who are watching this, I trade for a living. I don't have another source of income. Right. So, it is so important for me to be on point all the time. And we made the example this morning or earlier about professional athletes.
hmm,
Football players play once a week. They got to be on their game once a week. As a day trader, I got to be on cue 5 days a week,
yep,
like lasered in. My routine is super important. I go to bed at a certain time. I work out at a certain time. I meditate at a certain time. I walk my dog at a certain time because all this is all about me being consistent in the things that I do. And I think a lot of that comes down, and I guess what I'm trying to circle back to is having your mind right,
yep,
right? And that's really where you have come into play because out of everything that I can do physically, personally, things around me. The one thing that I can't always get right is my brain. So
yep.
sorry, I know that was a very long tangent just to come up with that, but
No, and that's, I think it's valid, and I think that that's the part where, again, especially if we're talking to guys and gals do the same thing, but we are notorious for this stuff,
yeah,
is
men
that
are
we just shove it down and we just try to push through or work harder or do whatever, and we don't realize that we're completely skipping over the thing. It's kind
right.
of like it's the band-aid, right? We think the band-aid is going to solve it. It's not. You got to clean out what's going on inside. And if you don't work with what's happening under the surface, it just finds ways to show itself up. If
So
I Go ahead.
sorry, go ahead. I didn't mean to cut you off. Go ahead.
If I have a mindset that I'm just a fat guy, right? If that's just the way that I view myself, I think of myself, if I go on a diet and I do really well, I lose some weight or whatever, but in here I'm still the fat guy because that's what I tell myself over and over and over, then
Right.
somehow, some way, it starts to seep in there and eventually it takes over. If I tell myself I can't make money in this and I lose and I always get back and I always do this, we can do well for a while, but it seeps back in there. We have to change part of this stuff on an identity level.
Yeah.
to realize that you are you. Pros, cons, goods, bads, all those things. Bad things that happen, good things that happen, all of it. Okay, so who do you want to be as a trader? And the more that you start to develop that, the more you start to trust yourself. The more you create your processes, your guide rails, your rules, your systems, that's how you win.
Right. Well, when we had our last conversation, I told you what was going on. The very first thing you said was your language is bad. Just the way you're talking is bad. And you just made that mention just now about how, I'm the fat guy, I'm this, I'm that, right? And so it's the same thing. You continue to tell yourself these things over in your head. And I remember some of the things I said to you was like, it's like, oh, I've been FOMOing. I don't ever FOMO. What's that? And you're like, hold up. You used to FOMO. You don't anymore because the past was 2 seconds ago. That's now the past, right? So it's not that you are FOMOing because FOMOing means you're going to continue to do the dumb shit,
Right.
right? You used to, and now you're not doing it anymore. And it's just about changing the direction of your thinking is exactly what you're saying because then you become I don't because now when I sit here and clear it's like I don't even like I don't have FOMOing why I don't that was so last week,
Yep.
right? Yeah,
Yep.
so I just wanted to point that out because it's huge. I
Yeah.
mean, I have people see and I was very guilty of doing this. Stupid man, I'm so stupid. I'm not stupid, first off. I don't
Right.
even know why I say stuff like that, right? But we all do it. But if we continue to do it, like our words are so powerful. Bruce Lee, I think, even said something about
I was
that.
about to bring it up. Yeah.
Yeah. What did he say? What exactly
I'm
did
going to
he?
mess up the quote, but same thing. It was like, I never talks bad about his body because his body doesn't know the difference, right? Like
Yes.
it's this great quote, right? And so that's it. That's why we can't think and talk that way. But it's also understanding that on the conscious level. But then, as you and I did, we locked it in subconscious so that now your nervous system responds to that. I'm not stupid. What the, right? Like it begins to rebel.
Right.
Now it rebels against those thoughts, those feelings. And
Yep.
that's when there's an identity change that happens internally. That's the
Absolutely.
difference.
Yeah.
Again, why do I utilize hypnosis? Because that's the level that this stuff has to be gotten at.
Well, that's what's up, Nate. You have been a huge influence on me. As far as I'm concerned, you've created a total shift in my trading career, and I can't thank you enough for that. I obviously wanted to have this conversation with you many times over. We've talked about doing it. We finally were able to carve out the time.
Yeah.
And if you wouldn't mind, I'd love to have you back on. Maybe we'll do some more personal stories. I know that you can't share a lot of clients, but I don't care. You can throw me under the bus. I'm totally good with that. But but the name of your company is I'll put all your stuff in the blog post, but
Okay.
Frederick.
Yeah. So the brick and mortar is Fredericksburg Hypnosis.
Okay.
The trading aspect of it is Unshakable Trading.
Okay.
Yeah.
Well, you have to give me all the links. I'll put them in here for people. I
Okay.
mean, your service is invaluable, and I think if anybody truly is interested in trading, and I say professionally, but let me just rephrase this. If you're interested in trading and actually making money, this is probably something you want to invest in. And I know that sounds crazy, but you know, psychology is almost this whole game. It's just insane. And until you can, here's my thing. People will spend thousands of dollars on courses, trading rooms, mentors, signal services, indicators, all kinds of stuff. And none of that shit is going to help you if you're constantly worried about losing money or you think about yourself the wrong way or you've been scarred in the past and you can't seem to, man, I lost $50,000. Okay, I'm back at it. Let me hope I can make this. It's you can't get over certain things on your own. And I've learned that firsthand, and that's your service is invaluable in my opinion. So
I greatly appreciate
yeah,
it, man.
yeah, absolutely. So thank you so much. I really appreciate you being here.
For sure. And yes, anytime, man. I told you I'm a geek. I love this stuff.
Yeah, right.
And I can tell you this too. So, like, I always want people to make money, right? Like, that's a fantastic thing. I love it. It's amazing.
Idea. Hey.
One of the main reasons I do this, in all sincerity, my purpose in really doing this is because what I have found with traders is that it seeps into every aspect of their life.
Yeah.
Meaning, if I've had a crappy day and I get into an argument with my wife, or I yell at my kids, or I whatever the case is, because it all tracks back to this. And so for me, this is beyond making money. Again, I love it when people make money, but is what's going to happen offline, because I've seen too many people blow up their life because of this stuff.
Yeah, it
And
happens.
and it doesn't have to. And so
Right.
again, if I can work with somebody and it not only brings in money, which is fantastic, but if it helps to change the quality of their life and their family and their loved ones, like that's purpose driven for me.
For sure.
Yeah.
Oh, it's huge. It's
So,
actually huge. Well, just to kind of touch on this before we get off, it's funny you said that because I know that my home life has to be pretty much perfect in order for me to have a great day.
mm,
And I'm not saying, like, oh, like it's gotta be hunky dory, but
sure.
at the end of the day, like if me and my wife are fighting, if me and my kid are at odds with each other, if there's something going on around the house that has my attention that's pissed me off, the roof's leaking, whatever, more than likely I will not perform well trading because it seeps in. But also the other thing also is too, if I have a bad day and I lose 5, 7, 10 grand, whatever, I'm probably gonna have a bad night at dinner. I'm probably gonna, it's like it's circular, whatever you want to
Yeah,
call it.
yeah, yeah.
It one feeds the other.
Yeah. And
And I'm
and
not saying there's other business like that. I don't know.
that's kind of what I'm talking about, where that has to be something where when you trade only. It
Right.
has to be something where if I did have a bad day and arguing with a wife, I kick the cat, whatever the case is, don't kick your cats. But if that stuff happens, I have to be able to mentally get into the place and saying I can still trade.
Yeah,
Because like you said, if we want everything to be perfect at home, that's really tough.
it is. It
And so
is.
we have to figure out, how do I still get into the zone when that stuff is happening?
Right.
And so again, that's the coaching, that's the drift, that's the working with people in a way so that no matter what shows up in life, when it comes time to click the button, get in, get out, let's go, baby. Game
Yeah, for
time.
sure. And a lot of it just from personal experience, because a lot of it is knowing when not to trade too.
That's true. That's true.
Like, I'm just not feeling right today.
Right.
Like, and you've helped me, like, so I felt, because as a day trader, I felt like I needed to trade all the time. And I remember, I was forcing trades and doing certain things, and you're like, okay, here's what we're going to focus on, and I only want you to take 4 hour levels or daily levels. And I
Right.
remember going 2 or 3 days the first week without getting a trade at all. And you're like, how do you feel? And I'm like, oh, what do you mean? How do I but
You're an idiot.
again,
Why am I doing this?
yeah, right. Why do I listen to you?
Yeah.
No, but it was, so I just wanted to kind of throw that out there, like it's okay. And just you have to understand yourself. You start to understand your process a little better. And I think it really helps mentally, right? Because it was very hard for me not to trade
Oh yeah.
first couple, and I was trading. I was just waiting for my setup, right?
Yep.
And so, yeah,
Like
uh,
food is everywhere.
yeah,
You get to choose what you want. And that's the difference between a trader, right? Like you are very specific. Like a buffet, I like buffets, they're great. But if I want a really good steak, I'm going to go to this restaurant because this one has this one and this is going to be the specific way and I know what my experience is going to be.
dude, it's so funny you said that. Listen, I just remembered one of the first things you said in our very first hypno sessions, and I'm gonna mess it up, but you basically, and not the exact words, said you are a lion, and a lion gets to choose what he wants to eat.
Yep.
and and the king always chooses the best. And that was not the exact words, but
Yep.
it was really interesting. You're a lion in the jungle, and like a lion is the king, and he can eat whatever he wants. He's like,
Yep.
but you are selective, and you always eat the best. And that was one way I think that you compared it to the trading. You're like, the market's always moving. It's noise until the stake comes, or
That's
whatever, the
right.
gazelle, whatever it is that you're after,
That's
right?
right.
Yeah, that's actually funny you said that, because my brain just was like, oh, I remember that.
But I want you to see that that right there is a perfect example. It's in there.
It is.
And that
I
program
totally
is
forgot
working.
that. Yeah, I
It's
totally
working.
forgot until you just said it. You're like, the
And
king
that's again
chooses
what
what
I
he
love
wants
about
to do,
hypnosis is it's so subtle.
right?
And all of a sudden I go, I choose what I want to eat.
Yeah,
when it comes to that pressure moment, all of a sudden that clarity goes, I'm good.
Yep,
Yeah,
it's true. Is it better to take the risk on something that is a maybe, or to take the risk on something that is more than likely high probability? I mean, yeah, it's choosing what you want to eat.
that's it. That's it.
Well,
So
thanks,
the
Nate.
audio programs, like I said, Unshakable Trading, it has videos, audios for the people who are less interactive, meaning like this is what I get with guys too. Sometimes guys want to have these conversations, a lot of
Yeah,
times they don't.
right,
And so
right.
here are the programs that are preset for the stuff that we go through so that you can go through it all on your own. You want to take it to the next level, then we jump in and we start doing work together. But I always want to make sure the resources are available for folks.
So, well, Nate, thank you so much for being with me. You are my secret weapon. And so I hope everybody kind of gets a little idea of what to expect from hypnosis now and what it can do for trading and how you work and the thought process behind it. So, thank you so much. And I will absolutely include all your information for everybody who's checking this out.
Cool. Appreciate it, man. Thank you.
Absolutely. Thanks again. See you soon.